Hi guys, my name's Calvin, and I release videos at 6:30 p.m. now. Welcome back to another class, everyone. We just got some updates in regards to the bonus drops for Conquest characters that are coming up, and while there are a few changes from what we had originally talked about, most of them are going to be positive. So what we're both seeing right in front of me right now are those changes that I was referring to earlier. Number one, the bonus drops are actually going to be starting the 27th instead of the 28th. This can be considered good news because that means we have a whole extra day, and that really won't affect the hoarding all that much other than the fact that we might have some refreshes to make up, but more about that later. The other change is the fact that the four characters, Ben Solo, Cat, Maul, and Malgus, are not going to be going to four different types of energies exactly. For light side and dark side, Cat and Maul will be sharing normal energy, Ben Solo will be entirely on Cantina, and then Malgus will be entirely on Fleet. For the Fleet and normal energy, it will be all hard node energy. Now, that is also not that much of a negative. We'll get to more on that later. And then the third and final thing that we have more info on is the fact that if you already have these characters at 7 stars, you will have an additional thing that you can farm, or rather a replacement thing you can farm. So for Ben Solo, for example, if you already have him at 7 stars, on your Cantina nodes from the 27th to the 30th, we will be getting bonus Zeta drops. So overall, again, I believe these are good changes, but I want to go into the math as to why that is the case. So there are a few questions that this does raise. I have adjusted the tables here for the hoarding, so you really will probably need to watch the previous video if you want to understand the hoarding aspect of this. But at any rate, you'll see that the numbers are now changed. I now have it set that the 27th is when the event starts, so our numbers have shifted here. And the big thing that could be problematic is the fact that if you were hoarding normal energy, hoping whatever character that was going to go there was going to be good for you, then you're actually going to be behind because we needed to end yesterday with 334 energy. Now, we didn't really know that with the energy or with the information that we had at the time, but it does lead us to a very interesting question. And that question is, should you bother doing the 100 crystal refreshes to hoard in order to get these new characters? And the answer ends up being yes. And let's walk through the math here a little bit. So Conquest characters, their shards are worth about 110 crystals overall. That's how the math breaks down if you were to refresh Proving Grounds, meaning that if you were to do that, you were going to miss out on a grand total of about 6 shards on average of Conquest shards, because that is the difference between the last day and the second to last day. That's the amount of energy you will be missing if you don't catch up using 100 crystal refreshes. Now, if you were to do those 100 crystal refreshes, it's going to cost you about 500 crystals in total. So you will be out 654 crystals worth of Conquest shards, but if you do the 100 crystal refreshes, you only actually be out 500 crystals total, meaning that if you do not use the 100 crystal refreshes to catch up, you will actually be at a loss of 154 crystal value in terms of Conquest shards. Now, I realize that was a lot of math, maybe wasn't explained in the best way, but basically it all comes down to the fact that if you really want these Conquest characters like Cat or Maul through the normal energy, then you are much better off going through the 100 crystal refreshes during the hoarding period so that you can have as much buying power as possible once the event actually rolls around. Now, the second thing that I want to address has to actually do with, should you be going after those hard nodes if you don't necessarily have any hard node characters to farm? And what I mean by that is, when we originally did all the math, we assumed that you were going to be able to go in and farm whatever node you wanted, like Kyrotech, for example, to be able to get these bonus shards. That is no longer the case. If you want Cat and Maul, and I guess Malgus too, you have to be farming hard nodes, which are more expensive and typically contain a character. So the question ultimately ends up being, if you aren't working on any characters in light or light or dark side hard nodes, then is it worth sacrificing all the Kyrotech that you would get by doing a normal energy to go after these characters? And the answer is yes. Yes, you should be sacrificing those Kyrotech that you would get. And the math boils down to this. Kyrotech have an average drop rate of 0.23%. Assuming that you go ahead and spend 100 energy on that Kyrotech, which is 10 attempts, you will yield on average 2.3 Kyrotech. That Kyrotech, from a crystal value standpoint, is worth 64 crystals. We pull that from pretty much any shipment you can find out there. Now, we've already run the math on the Conquest shards, and we know that they are worth 110 crystals minimum, assuming that there is at least a 1% drop rate. It would actually be higher if it ends up being something closer to 2. So overall, you're going to be netting a lot more crystal value. And this is true even if you need Kyrotechs. So as long as you actually do need the Conquest shards as well. So again, maybe don't go farming willy-nilly, but at the same time, for normal energy, Cat and Maul are goated on like 3 or 4 different teams each. So there's a lot of value to be had there, and it still could be a really good deal for you. Now, the last thing that we need to address, now that we've covered the fact that you should be catching up with 100 crystal refreshes for normal energy, that you should still be doing hard nodes, even if you don't need the hard node character, we need to talk about the fact that should you be hoarding right now your Cantina energy for the Zeta drops if you already have Ben Solo completely farmed up. A little bit of a reminder from what we saw at the very beginning of the video, that if you already have Ben Solo at 7 stars, there will be Zeta drops on Cantina. This is nice for a few reasons. Number one, it's any node on Cantina, so you don't have to worry about the weird hard and normal node thing that we do with normal energy. And Zetas are a very needed resource. So this becomes a little bit more complicated because you can't just go and buy a ton of Zetas for straight out crystals. There are some packs that come here and there, but one of the more regular packs that can have Zetas is going to be the daily deals. Now you'll see the picture I have here shows 7. I've heard that they can have 8, which would make sense because there are about 3 other things in here that also have value, meaning that 8 is a pretty safe estimate, meaning 1600 divided up by 8, we get to our friendly 200 number here per Zeta value. Now, if we assume that, again, this is going to have a drop rate of 1%, that leaves us at about 11 Zetas overall from hoarding, which means we will be earning 2,238 crystals worth of Zetas. And this is going to cost us about 1,200 crystals worth of Cantina refreshes. The math we get from that is the fact that this is the amount of Cantina energy that you are essentially going to be giving up by hoarding for those 3 days. And to recoup Cantina energy is a lot more expensive because once you pass the 100 limit, it becomes 200. All that to say, if you really need Zetas and you are comfortable buying them for 200 or less crystals, this deal is going to be good for you and worth forsaking whatever Cantina energy you would be using in the midterm. So that is going to be the overall video. I know it's a lot of yeses and it's a lot to take in, but there is a lot of opportunity here, assuming that you have some type of crystal stockpiled to either get Zetas if you already have Ben Solo, to continue to get Conquest characters on hard nodes, or at a bare minimum to be using those 100 crystal refreshes to be able to get more bang for your buck with this event. So thank you guys for watching. Happy hoarding. Until the next time, stay awesome.